8:10.
It's your turn.
Oh, no.
So what am I tonight? A burglar?
Oh, hello. Tell me about your
Yes, the movie is called The Change Up, and Lena Lamont over at lenalamont.wordpress.com and the Sunday Star Times has been and seen it. Lena, good morning.
Good morning, Wamo.
How you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, what do you think of this one? What is it? Who is it? How is it?
Right. It's a tried and tested formula where two people's lives swap.
Yep.
Right. So it's one of those
Big.
switch movies, like Big, like Freaky Friday.
Like every other one.
Right, like every other one.
I used to love them when I was a kid, though. Yeah, and the 80s versions of these things.
Do you know what I established from this one? Because in this one, what I thought was kind of interesting about this one is that you've got Jason Bateman and Ryan Reynolds, and they're approximately the same age, and they're mates, and they're both guys.
Right.
Now, their lives are completely different. So Jason Bateman, this is the typical kind of how the other half lives kind of story. Is the grass greener on the other side? That kind of thing. Jason Bateman married 2 newborn twins and a lovely daughter and a lovely wife and a busy job, and he's really successful, and it's kind of frenetic for him the whole time. And he looks longingly at Ryan Reynolds' bachelor pad and his free kind of struggling actor kind of life. And they each think, well, what you've got is pretty good, right? So then there's kind of, I won't give away the lame kind of way in which, suffice it to say, they don't chew on a fortune cookie like in the latest Freaky Friday movie, but obviously they have to go, I wish I had your life, and then and suddenly they've switched bodies. Now what's interesting to me about this one is that they are both guys of a certain age, so when they switch bodies it's much harder for them to portray the other person. Whereas when you've got, like in the latest Freaky Friday, when we had Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, you've got a mum, you've got a daughter, and when they switch, suddenly Jamie Lee Curtis is all being like a teenage daughter, you know, and Lindsay Lohan becomes quite sort of proper and like a mum.
So you can really be a character actor, right? Yeah.
Whereas in this one, you've got Ryan Reynolds, who's a bit of a lout and swears a lot, and so suddenly Jason Bateman becomes. I mean, it does work. Don't get me wrong, but it took me a lot longer to get the hang of. Hang on, who is he now? Even though I think your brain does that little tricky thing where it goes, well, you know that it's not that guy, but hang on a second, it looks like that guy. What are you meant to know? Or maybe that's just my brain.
So the old formula rolled out. I guess it's a money-making venture by Universal Studios. They just go,
I would hate to be that cynical about it,
give that script a tick. Go make that for a few bucks.
Both of them as well. Jason Bateman and Ryan Reynolds are in a lot of stuff lately, and they're both kind of really lovely, charismatic, nice actors. You know, I don't think either of them has had to do anything particularly juicy. I mean, Ryan Reynolds was Green Lantern. That's probably that I've seen him in lately. But Jason Bateman I really like. But he is starting to appear in everything. And there aren't that many sides, that many shades to Jason Bateman. So I think he has a little bit of work to do. It's a fun film. And if you just go into it to kind of almost vicariously do that switch across the fence, because the way I see it, everyone we know is either partnered up and settled and on the kids' route, or absolutely not. And each of us has something that we're envious of the other, you know.
Do they, I mean, is it one of those new R-rated comedy things, like, you know, The Hangover? Is it that kind of vein of
I have a feeling
comedy?
This is R16, this one, and it will purely be just because of bad language and nudity and bad behaviour.
Right.
And none of the bad language, nudity or bad behaviour is that notable. Like, so it's a bit naughty. They are starting to roll stuff out, aren't they? Yeah.
You sound like you don't like it.
No, I did. No, don't get me wrong. I did like it. It's perfectly good kind of Tuesday evening going to the flicks kind of fare, you know? It's not a startling version of its genre. It's definitely not. But it's not awful at all. I've seen far worse.
Does Big remain the sort of the jewel in the changing crown?
Oh, I'm a Freaky Friday girl more than a Big girl, actually. Right. So, but yeah, clearly those initial ones, they do work the best. And because you've got the age gap here. Here you've just got someone who's pretty smart and someone who's not. Yeah. Trying to, you know, but actually it works rather nicely when Ryan Reynolds has to be Jason Bateman's lawyer the guy that Jason Bateman is a lawyer who's on the verge of closing a deal and stuff. So actually, there's some kind of nice stuff.
All right, on to something completely different.
Yeah.
Do you know, Jane Eyre, where the wicked go after death?
They go to hell.
And what is hell?
Where are you, Ran?
If you don't sit still, you will be tied down.
A pit full of fire.
Should you like to fall into this pit and be burned there forever?
People think
If you don't sit still, you'll be tied down.
Yeah.
I feel like we've had a Jane Eyre movie before.
We've had millions of Jane Eyre
Yeah.
movies and TV adaptations. It's not a classic for nothing. This is a good one. I liked this. You can probably tell from the trailer, whether you're watching it or hearing it. It's dark.
Yeah.
The story itself is dark, so I'm not pretending that they've done anything crazy with the genre or anything like that. But this is a sufficiently dark version of it. So, to its credit, it isn't glossed up. Our leads in it. So Mr. Rochester is played by the fabulous actor I was raving about only a matter of months ago, who was in the X-Men. What was the latest X-Men? Michael Fassbender, who was in X-Men First Class, who prior to that was in Inglourious Bastards, and prior to that was in Hunger. He played a striking ARA terrorist, or probably alleged terrorist, who was on hunger strike and who eventually died, right? So that true, fantastic film. So this guy is an awesome actor.
Yeah.
Furthermore, I think he's Irish and German, and in this he does an excellent English accent. And he plays a very dark Rochester to Mia, now I'm going to get in trouble, Wasikowska, who is the Australian actress from Alice in Wonderland. So she's this bright young thing. She's done a couple of films, really. She's done Alice in Wonderland and The Kids Are All Right. Somehow they've cast her in Jane Eyre. She does a bloody good job. And she's sufficiently sort of plain and bedraggled looking in it as well. And I always admire films where the people aren't all glossy Jennifer Aniston looking people, obviously. And yet there's such depth in their the way they interact. The story here is that basically Jane Eyre has had a horrible upbringing, and we get a bit of that in the trailer. And even just listening to that again, actually, it's kind of really gutting. It's hard to watch, because it is horrible. And so she grows into being a very sort of self-contained young woman who is not obviously over kind of. She's not vociferous with her emotions, and she's not going to fall passionately in love. It's all quite restrained. But you can see the pain in everything that she does, and you can see pain in Michael Fassbender's Rochester. And when these two come together, I don't know, the love story was convincing for me. He's
holding a painful secret.
Well, he is obviously holding a painful secret, that's right. And that sort of unfolds. It's almost better if you haven't read the book. I have to admit, and I tell this only to you, Whammo, I haven't read the book. Don't tell anybody. I haven't read the book.
Yeah.
I know it's a classic, and I know most people have. And so to be fair to those who have read the book, if you wanted to know what people who'd read the book think, I think some people I know saw it and just thought it was absolutely enthralling. Others thought, well, I think they've shrunken the age gap a bit, and that's a bit of a convenience, but it still works on most levels. But in its own right, the film is dark, it is somber, it is completely enthralling, and I just thought it was quite a beautiful, moving film to watch.
Cool. Jane Eyre, the
Jane
new
Eyre
version.
Yeah. Very good acting.
Very good acting. It's out now?
It's out now. Even Dame Judi Dench is in it.
Yes, well, of course.
So, I mean, basically she's a staple of every film. That's right, isn't she? So, yeah.
Check out more reviews in the Sunday Star Times, also up at lenalamont.wordpress.com. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Jane! Jane!
Everything seems unreal. You, sir, are most phantom-like of all.
Jane.